We have several members of the Board of Directors from the New Vista Society who's hosting us today. So hello and thank you for being here to Michael Huang, Jeffrey Yu, Michael Chang, and Barb Larkin. And did I miss anybody? Did I get everybody? I wanted to make sure I got everybody. Okay, well, thank you everybody for being here today, and thank you for hosting us. We had an opportunity to talk a little bit about the work done here. New Vista at the start of the pandemic was actually located in the other building and had some challenges during the pandemic. And those challenges have decreased significantly in the building that's behind me, and so that shows you the importance of having quality care facilities to protect our vulnerable seniors, not just during a pandemic at all times, but especially during a pandemic. And actually something that's unique about this building is there's an entire floor that is designed to be culturally sensitive to Koreans, that actually provide care and food in the Korean language, which is quite a wonderful feature. This facility helps serve our Korean community that contributes so much to our country. Ladies and gentlemen, vaccines and the vaccine coverage within Canada is growing every day, and with that protection, we can finally start planning for how the future looks beyond the pandemic. For the people who live and work in long-term care facilities and their families, that question is particularly poignant. I represent Burnaby and North Vancouver, and some of the care facilities that were first affected, dramatically affected, were right here in our own community, in our backyard. From deadly outbreaks to staffing shortages to the isolation of prolonged lockdowns, long-term care workers and residents have suffered immeasurably during the pandemic. The situation has shown us exactly where we fall short, namely infection prevention and control, staffing, infrastructure, and testing. This is why we made a commitment to Canadians to do all we can to address the systemic problems that put our seniors at risk. To address the immediate needs in some facilities, the Canadian Armed Forces helped in the provinces of Quebec and Ontario, and I think we collectively hope that's something that we don't have to do in the future because of the action that we're taking. The federal government provided funding for personal protective equipment and to raise wages of essential workers. And I can tell for everybody here, this is quite personal for me, not just because of the members of our community that are affected, but my mother works in care, and my sister is a nurse, and my grandma was also a nurse. So when there are situations where we're not delivering up to our potential, I hear from my family members directly. To address these gaps, we are also committing up to $1 billion through what is called the Safe Long-Term Care Fund, announced in the 2020 Fall Economic Statement. We created this fund to work with provinces and territories because to do better, we know that we have to work together. And so today, I am very proud to announce an agreement between the federal government and British Columbia for safe long-term care in this province. With the agreement, British Columbia is receiving close to $134 million to invest in priority initiatives. For residents in this province, this means more single-bed rooms in long-term care facilities and improved ventilation and air quality to increase comfort and reduce medical distress during periods of excessive heat or poor air quality. And I'll note that we are outside today and it is very warm and the air quality is not very good. So this is going to help with the pandemic, but this is also going to help with our resilience as we continue to deal and fight climate change. The funding will also support enhancements to furniture and fixtures that will be easier to clean, thereby reducing the threat of infection or spread of disease. In addition, this investment is being used for beds that help reduce wound pressure injuries and infections, and in cleaning, food service, and medical supplies that reduce health risks in the future. We owe it to those who were affected by the tragedies experienced because of COVID-19 to act and improve things, and today's funding reflects our government's commitment to make sure everyone living in long care facilities such as the one that we're at today receives safe, quality care and is treated with dignity in their golden years. To ensure transparency, provinces and territories will develop and publish action plans which show how federal investments are supporting greater infection prevention and control in long-term care settings so that those living and working in these facilities are protected from the spread of infections. The government also welcomes the news that the Health Standards Organization, or HSO, and Canadian Standards Association, the CSA group, are launching a process to help address those issues in Canada. The collaborative work of the HSO and CSA groups with government, stakeholders, and Canadians to develop national standards, and this work will help inform the federal government's ongoing discussions with provinces and territories on improving the quality of life of those living and working in long-term care. I believe that the HSO is focused on the measurements for high quality and standards of care, while the CSA leads on infection prevention. These facilities were hit hard in BC and many parts of the country from the outset of the pandemic. And while the administration of long-term care falls under provincial and territorial jurisdiction, we have a shared responsibility to protect our most vulnerable populations. And that is why the federal government is committed to working with provinces and territories on long-term care, including through targeted funding to improve the quality and safety of care in these facilities. After all, I think this is something that all of us, no matter what our political stripe or level of government, can agree upon. So I want to thank everybody for being here, for being a part of this announcement. And I just want to say a big thank you to everybody that's here with us, who's doing the work on the ground and providing this care. All the essential workers that have worked so thanklessly throughout the entire pandemic and before, and of course will continue afterwards. My family has a history of dementia and Alzheimer's, and to know that families that are afflicted by this, it doesn't just affect the individual, it affects the entire family. And the fact that we're able to provide quality care at facilities like this means so much to those families. And so I just want to thank each and every one of you for the dedicated work that you're doing to provide this quality of care. And hopefully with this investment, we'll be able to improve that quality of care, not just here, but throughout the province, and of course, as we continue the funding across our entire country. Thank you very much, everyone. I'll pass the mic over to Justine, who will handle the media portion of this event.
Opening the floor to media for questions. If you have a question, just step up to the microphone and state your name and organization. You will have one question and one follow-up. It appears that we have no questions in person, so we kindly ask that online questions portion begins.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So we'll now proceed to questions from journalists online on Zoom. If you're a reporter and wish to ask a question, please use the raise your hand function. We'll ask that you limit yourself to one question and one follow-up. Unless I've stated already, please indicate your name and media outlet before posing your question. Nous allons maintenant prendre des questions des journalistes sur Zoom. Si vous êtes une journaliste et vous désirez poser une question, veuillez utiliser l'option de lever la main. Merci de vous limiter à une question et un suivi. Et s'il vous plaît, identifiez votre nom et votre média avant de poser votre question. The first question is from CTV. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Kevin Gallagher, CTV National News. On the press release today, it said that Defense Minister Harjit Sajjan will be there. Is it possible for me to ask him a question?
Well, thanks for being here, Kevin. Unfortunately, Minister Sajjan was predisposed with ministerial work and was not able to attend today.
Okay, is there any reason why?
I'm sure there's a very good reason why, but I'm not sure what it is.
Okay, so fine, for long-term care facilities, obviously there's an election on the way. Is this a campaign promise from the Liberals?
I don't think it's a campaign promise because we're delivering it today. This is $134 million that's being delivered, and so that happens regardless of the campaign or any future campaign that might happen.
What about negotiations between the feds and the provinces? It's obviously provincial jurisdiction. How is that getting ironed out? But with, not just with BC, but with everybody.
Right. Well, I know that there are agreements with Newfoundland and Labrador as well as with the Yukon, and of course this is a good announcement with BC. Our government's going to continue to work in collaboration with our territorial partners and provincial partners to make sure that these funds are made available and put into place where they're needed right across the country. And you know, it's our Prime Minister that restarted meeting with First Minister meetings, but during the pandemic, those have almost been monthly or more. So we've said that we're going to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes to make sure that Canadians you know, can get through this pandemic and come out the other side and be ready to thrive. And that's exactly what we're doing today with this announcement.
Thank you. We have another question from Mr. or Mrs. Bailey. I'm just wondering if you can confirm your media outlet, please. And go ahead. You can, I think you're muted. Oh, sorry that the media's left the call. If there's any other media questions, please use the raise your hand function.
Well, thank you everybody for attending today. Thank you to all of our honored guests. I look forward to talking to you some more after this announcement. And this is good news for BC and for the rest of the country. So thank you for sharing in this good news today.